Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hey viewers, today we have Manish Rathi with us. He is an engineer and completed his engineering from NIT Surat. Later on, he went to IIM Bangalore and completed his MBA. So today he will be sharing his scoop with all of us. So, hi Manish, how are you?
Hi sir, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, all good here. So, how is lockdown treating you?
Well, it's different. Work from home and the work, I believe it's wonderful. I mean, you learn a lot of things. You have to adapt at a lot of things. Not seeing faces, not going to office, and still getting the work done if you're handling a large team. I think that's a unique experience for everyone.
Awesome. So, Manish, can you please brief us with your profile to the viewers?
Sure. So hi, hey everyone. This is Manish Rathi. I've done my mechanical engineering from NIT Surat, and I was really passionate about automobiles, and hence after undergraduation I decided to go into a company which makes automobile, and what better than Mahindra and Mahindra. So there I had a stint for about 2.5 years, and I have learned a lot of things in Mahindra. There were various stints, be it production, be it industrial engineering, be it analytics. So I have a flavor of a lot of things that jiggles into analytics, business mindset, dealing with various stakeholders. And that is exactly where it kind of guided me to do my MBA. And as you know that I'm a pass out of IIM Bangalore 2019 batch, and currently I'm working with a professional service organization which is Genpact, which caters to various finance departments of all across the globe. So you name a company and maybe Genpact might be servicing to them.
Wow. Awesome. Okay, so when did you decided to do an MBA? While you were in engineering or while you were working at Mahindra? So, and what made you to think of doing an MBA?
The thought did cross my mind while I was in my engineering. But then, frankly, I was of the mindset that after engineering, that would be the last studies of my life and I won't go for anything else. But it was during Mahindra that after interacting with a lot of people, seeing what they are doing, and when you join from maybe from an undergrad course, you are doing a lot of technical things rather than building up the business. But when you see people, building up the business, bringing in the teams together, looking at the profit and loss, P&L statements for the company, that really excited me. And I would say Mahindra helped me decide that I should definitely go forward to do or upgrade myself in my skills of an MBA so that I can take up a future or bigger growth perspective roles. So
Great.
yeah.
Acha, so one question, like many of the students who generally ask, should they go for an experience after graduation before doing an MBA, or they should join as a fresher for an MBA? So, can you throw some light on this?
Uh, I mean, there is no right answer to this that, when is the correct time that you should go for an MBA. It depends, if you have a very clear mindset that you want to take certain experience before or explore the world in your, job, and then you want to decide whether you want to go for an MBA or not, that depends upon you. But I've seen a lot of my friends who are freshers, who are excelling of, what they do, and some of them are engineers. They are not coming from the commons background. So it's really a personal choice. There is no differentiation. But yes, experience do gets you some flavor of the world while you can drive the CAT as well as your personal PI interviews and VAT in a much better manner. That can help you, but that is not a deterrent or a must-have for deciding to do an MBA for in your life.
Correct. So, while you were working and you thought of doing an MBA, you started with your journey of CAT preparation. So, can you take us through your preparation and the entrances that you appeared for, CAT and Match Snap, etc., whichever you did, and what were the challenges that you faced, and how you overcome those challenges?
Uh, well, well, one cannot be sure of, how many tests to take. I believe one should prepare. One should give all the tests that one can, wherever one aspires to go to. So that really depends. I prepared for Snap, I prepared for NM NMAT, I prepared for CAT. I also gave, the local Mumbai CET exams as well. For me, it was like, all of this are in preparation mode, which with the ultimate aim of getting into a big or a prestigious college, which can help me boost my overall career. So the challenges that you face in all of the programs are unique because it's very important to understand what each of the exams or each of the exam patterns are. NMAT might have a different way of tackling it towards the period because the studies for all of them are same. You don't have to really look at what should I prepare for NMAT, which I should not be preparing for CAT. That's not the case. It's only the approach of the exam, the kind of an online syllabus or what kind of patterns it would be, how many questions would be there in each session, that might differ, and how fast. So NMAT is all about timings, the fastness of how you do it. Snap for me, it was an easy kill. That's a paper-based exam, and I was able to excel it by just graying out the MCQs. While CAT being an online examination, that was a different. So you feel a lot of different pressure while giving a lot of exams, but you have to remain calm, composed, understand what you are here for, and give your best. So, and that comes with a lot of practice and experience. While you have done your lot of mock test, you will be. I'm sure you'll be able to excel at it.
So when you were preparing, which section did you find most challenging?
There is no doubt verbal ability. See, being an engineer, quants came quite naturally. LRDI was just a subset of driving course of how do you think logically. But the verbal ability was something that we have never been exposed to right from the start. So in our schooling days, we understand English, we understand grammar. We never give so much importance to it. But the jumbling parables, reading the long comprehensions, finding some hard words which are outside of the your normal usable vocabulary. So that is something that you have to continuously train yourself so that you become adept towards it. And the only key factor here would be, I would say, your experience. It's just like playing a game. The longer you play, the more experience you gain, the faster and stronger you become in a game. In a similar manner, it's if you have never done a verbal ability kind of a pattern in your life, you need to take it, you need to give it time, you need to practice it more, and then you will be much able to take it a faster decision. And you're reading between the lines, understanding of the stuff, how it should flow, it will come naturally to you. So yeah, verbal ability was my, I would say, a weakest point, but we were able to turn that around with sufficient practice.
Awesome, great. So you cracked CAT, you got your score, you got a call from IMD. Can you take us through your VAT PI experience, not only at IMD, but also at other institutes that you went for?
Well, that's quite a long time. I don't remember exactly which questions were asked, but I can share my experience for one of the symbiosis, Snap, where what I believe for an interview experience is you can drive your interviews in the manner that you want to. So there would be some certain generic questions which the interviewer might ask you. How exactly tell me something about yourself, what you have done. So you have to be very careful of how you answer that, because your answer would determine what is the next question that the interviewer is going to ask. So I was I framed my questions, my answers in such a manner that it could lead, I was leaving clues for the interviews to pick that up. So I could leave 2 or 3 cues maybe in the work ex, because for me, I carry a 2.5 year work experience, and that was a strong point for me. I wanted the interview to ask me more about what I have done in my work experience, how have I looked at different angles of doing things. So that is where I was able to drive that interview. And then you have extracurriculars which you should know about, and never shy away from saying no to anything. When you don't know anything, just be upfront, frank. Nobody is here to kind of push you down that why do you don't know this. The interviewer is not going to look at whether you know an answer or not. The interviewer is going to look at how do you take that question and how do you respond in a calm manner towards it. So that is what the mental ability and the calmness is what the interviewer is judging you on, rather than actual the answer that you give.
Agree.
Yeah. And in terms of the VAT experience, I remember one of the COIC codes VAT example that we gave. It was a topic maybe on the well, I'll have to remember, but it was topic on a general affairs where you have to give a diplomatic answers toward a scenario or third world war scenario. How would you tackle it? And people were, writing down a lot of stuff. I structured my points in the VAT in the way I wanted to drive a discussion. I wrote it down, and then we had a 5 minutes, group discussion on the VAT topic itself to understand, how people could, are faring to it and how brilliantly they are able to put their points. See, I really, that topic was very new to me. I did not jump into this discussion right from the start. I came at the later stage where people were throwing in a lot of the points. What I did is I picked up clues because I did not know about those topic. To be fair, I picked up clues from various people. Then I stitched a story together, and I was able to present it in such a manner where when you hear something, just bring in your logical side of thinking. That this is how it should happen and this is how it should flow, and be very humble, calm in replying that I beg to differ with this point. Don't be aggressive. No, you have said it wrong, I don't agree with you. Be calm, composed. Make sure that you make your point and everyone hears you. One single or two single points are enough to make. You don't have to be talkative throughout your GDPIs to make to drive your point across to the interviewers. He would understand.
Awesome. Great. Okay, so you cracked your VAT, you cracked your PI, you went to IMB. So one question that I have, like majority of us know, like as if we compare IM A, B, and C, B is inclined towards those students who had a very good academic results or who had very good scores in their 10th, 12th, graduation, etc. Over the time, it went like they are looking for diversification. So which we generally call as like gem are the most unfortunate people. Okay, so I have a question like this diversification thing. Why is IIM going towards the diversification process?
Well, to be fair, diversification is what we need. And when you see across companies as well, companies promote diversification, gender diversity, professional diversity. And the only reason is we don't want people who think alike. We want, a difference of opinion to come ahead. A set of engineers, a set of doctors, or a set of commerce graduate have been trained in their life to think in a particular set manner, and their logics would be more or less similar. But when you combine a lot of people in that brainstorming discussion, and that is how IMB's classroom or any particular prestigious, curriculum is decided, it's more of an open discussion that many people from various diverse fields would have a different way of thinking. Some might be, expert in art, some might be experts in music. They would have a different way of approaching anything for that matter. That doesn't mean that, anyone is right or wrong. Everyone have a perspective. You decide how you club all of those perspective together, and that is where exactly the conversation evolves. You move to a second point where which you might not have even thought of. And I think that's the unique thing that every IMB looks at, or every IM looks at. How can you be different, or what is the value add that you bring to the table? So, I think that's where IMB or, any IM is looking for diversification. And it's really important. I have, learned a lot from my colleagues at IMB.
Oh, nice. So, how was your journey at IMB? How were the 2 years that you spent at IMB? So, can you give us certain insights about the college?
It's amazing. See, any college experience is great. I would love to go back to IMB or do college experience again if I get a chance. But the learnings at IMB, when you go there, you will have to mentally prepare yourself, because now you are going to a world where everyone is smart enough, is intelligent, and understands what you're kind of talking about. So the filtering criteria for any of the IMs or for NMATs and for SNAPs are made in such a manner that people who can think logically, or they have proven themselves in their life. And that doesn't mean only in the interview. What they have shown as a passion in their overall life. Some, as I said, in terms of diversity, somebody is good or passionate about music. He might not know quants to that extent, but he is adept at doing something. So that is where at IMB, the greatest learnings that you get, you don't compare yourself with other people in terms of I am this, I am good at this thing, while he is not good at this thing. I might be able to excel at this subjects and he won't be. You never know. Subjects like finance, which are shown to be a commerce grad strength, we have various cases where the engineers have been topping that subject. We have cases where people coming from an arts or creative background are topping that subjects, because it's not about what you know, it's about how well you learn, quickly grasp things. And that is where IMB teaches you, or learn, understand, and apply it in your life via the discussion. So be open to points, perspectives, and then apply it in and change your mindset. So that's not going to come, just at one single go. Okay, I have said, somebody has said me, now let me apply it. It would be a gradual and a constant change in that 2 years. Life before IMB and life after IMB, or for any IM for that matter, you would not know, how you're evolving or changing. But if I reflect back 2 years, my thinking was narrow, or little down on a tactical, on an execution standpoint of view. But over the period when we heard multiple perspective, we had multiple courses, subjects, all of those, learnings, I was able to stitch that knot together while looking at a new business problem now. So the way of approaching a problem has really changed for me, and that is why that is what I believe IMs give you, or the colleagues or the network gives you that experience, that rich flavor, so that you learn continuously.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And what changes do you see in yourself? I mean, you just said that you are now able to manage things properly. Apart from this,
Yeah.
in personality, what all changes do you see in yourself, which were
Well, you become
absent
humble.
earlier?
You become more humbler. That's for sure, because you will encounter so many experiences in any of the colleges for that matter. Where you will understand that you are good but not the best, and even the best of the batch might not be good in some other, in some aspects which the other might be excelling. So try to maintain that calm composure. Don't try to belittle anyone for that matter. Be very, be open, and be open for the learnings that you're getting with each of the people. So grow your network, because at IMB what you're studying, and I believe every one of my viewers would agree that your undergrad network, your school behavior, the things that you learn, it might not be always that whatever you have learned you might not be applying it, say, from apple to apple perspective. But the network that you have, the constant experience that you have with your colleagues, the kind of help that you want to get, this is where you should kind of focus on in IMB. That okay, I'm not great at marketing, but I have a friend who is great, who excels at it. If I have a problem, I will reach out to him, and I should have a bond or a rapport with him in such a manner that he should be able to help me. So this is where grow your network. And it's not necessary you excel at everything. Be true to what you want to do, what you're good at. Take something as a passion and excel at that. For the other things, you can rely on people, and you will be able to excel through it. Take an example of startups for that matter. A lot of startups, where we know that a lot of startups does not have an the founders of the startups does not have an strong educational backgrounds or an MBA, yet they're able to drive the overall business in certain manner. And the only reason is be passionate about one thing. They are passionate about their idea, how to execute it, and they hire the best of the minds to do what they cannot. So that's exactly where you also need to have that mindset. Excel at one thing. Nobody should be better than you in that. You continuously grow, and for the other things you rely on your colleagues, make that bond. And that's where IMB, or the personal change, the kind of network that I have before IMP and now, it's the biggest difference that you have.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Like, this is really very insightful, and I would say this is quite motivational for many viewers who would be listening to this. So that's it from my side, Manish. One last thing, like any pro tip that you want to give to the students who are preparing for these entrances?
Well, practice, practice, and practice. And I believe many would have told this. Let me give you a framework that I kind of applied to my life. And those are three simple key statements. Think big, start small, and act fast. You think with the perspective of why are you doing this. You need to be convinced to the nth extent that yes, I want to achieve this. There should not be any second thoughts. Okay, this doesn't make sense to me. Otherwise you will not put your efforts into that. Don't be overburdened by lot of pending tasks that you have your hand. Understand, everyone is in the same boat as you are. All of your colleagues, they might be one step or two steps behind you. That doesn't matter. Take or break your syllabus, break your points into small buckets. Define a target, plan it in such a way, start small, achieve it, and then you act fast on it. Don't rely, what I have done my 2 points, now I can relax and that's okay. You define a time period, but don't give up too soon. And that would be, the kind of framework that I like to give to all the listeners, that no matter how much you prepare, you will, at the exam day, you will always feel that, maybe I'm not prepared enough. But you would never know with the constant, preparation. As I said, while playing a game, you don't know how much experience you are gaining with each fight or each battle. Similarly is the case with your studies. You would never know how much you have learned till the time you have spent a lot sufficient hours on practices, understanding, and then your speed to solve things, to understand things, become much faster. And when you compare it, maybe while you're giving the exam to the while you started preparing for it, that would be the huge chunk. So don't think I'll become an expert overnight. Gradually try, focus on your learnings, try to revise it in a particular time period so that you don't forget it. And that would be the biggest learning that I would like to give all of my viewers.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's it from my side, Manish. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed listening to you. And I'm sure the viewers will also enjoy listening to listen to you. Okay. Thank you so much, Manish. And we wish you luck for your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Looking forward.
thank you.